Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report on Ryan Leicester. And thank you for joining us for episode 139. Delighted to have our captain here in the form of Mark. Good evening, Nocky. Thank you for giving it your Monday evening. Tonight, we're going to give our review of Wolves' 2-0 win over Everton, talk about the 1-1 draw at Spurs, give you our player and match analysis of that. We're going to talk about the Brazil-themed third kit, take some of your questions, and look ahead to Sunday afternoon's game against Brighton and Hove Albion. Nocky, 1 week, 1 goal conceded, 1 win, 1 draw. We're so back. Maybe not. Your take on Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Everton 0.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed the game. It feels like an age ago now, this one does. I thought it was a really good game. There's all the talk about Everton resting their players, but we rested a fair few as well. I like the back four. It seemed to work really well. I like the personnel there as well. Long term, are they going to stay with Krejci and Santiago Brenner? Probably not. But at the moment, it's just exactly what we need really to get us going again. We needed something different, and we didn't look like we were full of mistakes. We didn't look riddled with errors like we normally are. We looked much more comfortable at the back, and I think in midfield as well. It was compact but expansive at the same time. We had lots of space to play. I thought the nice little triangles, passing areas. It just seemed to work really well for us. And then up front, we looked a little bit of a threat as well. And the first goal was, off the back of a fantastic strike by Arias, and the second is just absolutely beautiful from Tolo. It's a fantastic finish. So it was a game that when I woke up in the morning, I didn't really want to go to. I think you go out a kind of blind habit now, don't you, and loyalty. But I'm glad I went because it was a really good day. It was nice to win a game of football and to keep a clean sheet as well. And these things are absolutely massive for us. I know a lot of people think the cup doesn't really matter, but what it did, it set us up to go to Tottenham Hotspur and get a point. So these games are very, very relevant, even if you're not going to win the competition.
Yeah, by the end of that first half, I was in real danger of enjoying Wolverhampton Wanderers again. I was like, that was really good. I enjoyed that. And I know our standards have dropped in terms of what's really good and reality what's really good. But it looks like a team that it looked like it knew how to play a back four. And to me, the big difference for me was the reintroduction of Andre in centre midfield. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He was protecting the centre-backs. He was completing the triangles you talked about. Wolves played football from the back, and Andre was a massive part of that.
Yeah, he was excellent. But, I mean, how many times have you had a cup competition where you feel like the team have got an opportunity, players have got a chance to really stake a claim, and they just don't take it. They don't take that opportunity. They absolutely did in this game. I thought Andre, I didn't think he should have been dropped for the Leeds game because for me, at this moment in time, he's our best midfielder. I think he's outshining Gomez at the moment. So for him not to be in the team, I always find incredibly strange. But Marshall Monetzi as well, his movement, he was strong. He affected the game because he's playing closer to what would be his ideal position. And it was the same with Bellegarde as well. I thought he was really good when he had the ball, he was driving us up the field. He just worked. The system worked really well for us. And I think not having the three at the back allowed us to be a little bit stronger in midfield, which is something we've been badly lacking because we've been overrunning just about every game we played this season. So the system worked. And I think one of the big standouts for me was Sam Johnson as well, because he seemed a more calm influence at the back. He seemed like the team were comfortable with him, and he made a couple of decent stops as well. So you build from the back, don't you? If you get your back line right, if you're not conceding goals, you're not going to lose games. And it just felt like a much more organised team. And it felt like we had a little bit of an identity as well. You could see what we were trying to do, and we did it quite effectively in that match.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, particularly about Monetzi. He's been criticised a lot on this show. I think I'm not sure it's all down to him, but if you keep playing somebody, you've got to look at the manager as well. But it's no coincidence Wolves are getting more out of Monetzi when he plays, as you say, in his natural position. Now, he's not going to glide past 4 or 5 players. I say he's not going to ping one in the top corner, but he has done that. So this is a guy that he's there because of his incredible engine and his football intelligence. And I think it really suited him. He looked like to be linking play on that right hand side. I think he was linking with Doherty. He was supporting the defence. He was getting forward. He was, for the opponents, he's a complete pain in the arse because he's massive. He's strong. He's absolutely relentless, and he's a proper honest footballer. And in a system like that, you know what? We're not talking about purist football anymore. We're talking about finding a way to win football games. He's been in the team twice in a week. Wolves are through the cup. they've got a draw at Spurs, and if it wasn't for like a goal in the 96th or 97th minute, Wolves have got 2 clean sheets in a week.
Yeah, look, Menezes never going to win the Ballon d'Or, is he? I mean, this is probably the ceiling for him in terms of where he can go. But what he does give you, he gives you high energy and he gives you an incredible work rate. And when you've got someone like him occupying the opposition midfielders and occupying the defensive area, pulling people out of position, it allows you kind of more, I don't want to say better quality players, but your more skillful players like your John Arias and Bellegarde. It allows them to have a little bit more room, a little bit more space that they can play into. So we know that he's limited. We know that he's we know what he does. He's very good at what he does. But I think if you can play him in a 3 and you can make him a little bit more of a free roll where you go where you fancy, he will occupy people. He'll make life difficult for him. So I'm not going to be critical of him at all. He is limited. We know that. But I thought his performance in the last 2 games has been really good.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise last Tuesday looking at the team because, I mean, you see, well, you're thinking ahead of Spurs, he's rested the whole team. He's pretty much changed the whole defence and had a different look to it. But as much as Everton were changed, Wolves didn't look like a team that had just had a back four thrown together. Santiago Bueno, again, I know Tyler's praised him, but he doesn't really seem to make that many mistakes. Yes, he's probably not as physical strength-wise as the others, and he probably doesn't have the pace, but he doesn't seem to give the ball away, and his football intelligence seems really high. So the introduction of him, and then we've talked about Krejci going to a back four, but those two, I know we're going to talk about the other game as well, but that didn't look like the first time they played together against Everton.
No, and you look at that Everton starting lineup, and there wasn't a great deal of threat up front. So I was in a sadistic kind of way. I was quite pleased when he brought Beto on, and then he brought on Grealish and Iliman and Joy come on as well, because you want to see these players tested. You want to know, is this just something that's going to be patched up for today, or is it something that you could actually build on? And we brought those players on. I think Bueno got rolled by Beto once in the whole game.
And he did the right thing, though, didn't he? Then
he did the right thing. Smashed him. That's exactly what you should do. And how many times have we given goals away because we haven't done that? I thought the marshalled them really well.
Card. That's intelligent defending.
Exactly when you do it. But, Iliman and Joy caused us all kinds of trouble a few weeks ago, and we had him control. Grealish, we know the quality he's got. But we just managed them really well. And it was just, my earbuds can't stay in. It was just a really, it was a really good defensive performance, and it worked. And as I say, I was glad when those better quality players came on, because they did test the back line. But one thing you get with Bueno, he seems to read the game really well. He seems a very intelligent footballer, and he's not quite as physical as Agbadou. He's not ridden with the mistakes that Agbadou is at the moment, even though we know he's a quality player. And long term, Agbadou's back in his team. There's no doubt about that. He gives you a little bit of stability, and it's a little bit of calmness on the ball. And Krejci's, he's probably the best signing we've made in this window, because he looks like a genuine, proper footballer who can play just about anywhere, defence or in the field. So it worked really well. And I think Doherty deserves a lot of credit too, because he's a player who's, we've all thought probably should have been put out to pasture by now. But every time he comes in, he just seems to do well. He seems to have that element of calmness about him. He's organised, he's disciplined, he moves people around. He's just a calming figure that perhaps you need in that situation. And then Hugo, the other side, I thought was excellent. He ran up and down the channel. He managed his man really well, and he looked a threat going forward. So, it's a start, isn't it? It's a foothold in the season, but you've got to start somewhere. And I thought the lads should have been proud of themselves for that performance. And they look like they really wanted to win as well. They haven't given up at all. They're not down tools, as is a common phrase in our situation. They really wanted to win that game. They really worked hard for it. So I don't think they'll ever be criticised. Certainly won't be criticised by me if they're giving 100% on that pitch. And they looked like they were doing that.
Yeah, you can't fault someone's technical ability. They can't be any better than the skill set they've got. And that we do have more limited players than we did probably a couple of years ago. But if you play them in the correct positions, like Menezes, I've got absolutely no problem, because he was probably playing in a forward position because we had no one else that could be trusted to do the work up there. Now he's in midfield. You're probably going to get the best of him. Is he the saviour? We're not talking about the next Zidane, but we're talking about finding a way to play to help Wolverhampton Wanderers stay in the Premier League. He's been in for 2 games, and I can't fault him. I think he's been a real handful. You know what? It's a different way of playing, but he's back in. And just another shout out for Andre Naki before we talk about the goals. I think Andre is fantastic. I think he doesn't get to do the job he wants to do best when he's in front of a back 3, because the middle centre-back, probably Agbadou usually, or bring the ball out and be passing it left, right, and centre. Whereas Andre will come and drop it naturally in between two centre backs and come and collect, and you can play your triangles out with Doherty and Hugo Bueno, and Kreschke and Santiago Bueno are both comfortable as well. So when you have good technical footballers there, you can actually play out a little bit better from the back. They're just solid performances, and it's great to see Andre back, and long may he continue in the team. Let's talk about the goals.
I think just before you do that, I'll just touch on what you said around we're not where we once were, and we're absolutely not. When you look at the quality we've had in midfield, we've been spoilt in that midfield area when you've had Neves, Moutinho, players like that. And Menetzi's never going to come in and be people's favourite because of, you remember those good days when you had that quality. But throughout the team, we've lost so much quality that you've got to accept that this is what we are now. This is the level we're at. So if you can get players like Menetzi and Bellegarde giving 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 performances every week, you'll give yourself a chance from an energy perspective. It's just a shame that the quality isn't quite there.
Yeah, I agree. But let's talk about the goals, Nocky. Wolves were growing into the game. I thought they were doing okay. Sort of complete new system. But I don't think it's been talked about enough. That initial strike from Arias was absolutely out of this world. Over his shoulder, on his weak foot. Yes, it's not really a tap in, it's a chance then. But that moment of brilliance has forced the keeper into a save and give Wolves a goal-scoring opportunity.
Feels like he's arrived a little bit, doesn't it, over the last couple of performances? He just feels like we're seeing a bit more from him. I still think there's a lot more to come because I do think he's a very good player. But he does nice little intricate touches, nice little passes, doesn't overplay. He's very sensible. No, very sensible in possession. And it was an excellent strike. I mean, the keeper, you could maybe argue, should push it a bit further away.
It's such a good strike from there. I don't think he's expecting him to connect like that.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point I'm making. You'd expect him to push it away, but I think it comes at him so quickly, and he's almost got his back to goal when he hits it. And, he's palmed it back. And I think a bit of credit for Menetzi as well, because that's not as easy a finish as perhaps it looks, because he has to wait for it to come down, and it's almost behind him, so he has to shuffle himself back and control it on a bit of a half volley as he's bouncing up. So I think it was a really good goal, and I think it was probably what we deserved, actually, for the performance we put in.
Yeah, just following up as well regarding Menetzi, he's in the right place at the right time. He's took the goal well. He's got and from one of your midfielders who are left and right of Andre, if he's holding, I'd expect Joe Gomez to be doing the same, or Bellegarde, whoever's in those positions. I'd expect them to be getting in and around the box, and Menetzi did that. Now, just want to comment on this. Talk about what Dan said. Just said Menetzi has football intelligence. I'm done. Well, has Menetzi got football in terms of ability and style? Probably not, but I don't think we're talking. I think he's intelligent football because he gets in many good positions. Just because he's technically limited doesn't mean he can't play the game to his strengths, which I think he does. So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Dan, but equally he gets in those positions.
But if Menetzi plays every game this season, he probably finishes on 7 or 8 goals, because he does tiptoe into those positions. He's got a little bit of the old Dave Edwards about him, where he makes those runs quite late. So I think he has got. I think it's a bit harsh to say he hasn't got the football intelligence. He's not, as we said, he's never going to win a Ballon d'Or, but he does read where the ball's going to be, and he gets himself into those good positions. So, as we said, he's limited, but I think he's got a little something about him that could benefit us going forward.
Absolutely. No problem, Dan. Always comments, always welcome on the Wolves Report. Try and get through as many as we can. The one player we need to highlight again, though, I mean, it was a good team performance, but the one player that did concern me, though, was Hwang. This isn't just a dip in form, Nocky. This is a barren 19, 20 months. The player that had that spell at Christmas for the Asia Cup, before he scored those 2 brilliant goals at Brentford. For me, I keep saying it, but Chani is somebody that, for me, he plays as a poacher 9 or nowhere, because he doesn't particularly link the play well. He doesn't really beat a man. He doesn't put a cross in. He's never going to score from distance. I mean, he scored a great goal at Spurs last year, so I take that one back. But I don't know what's up with Chani, and I don't understand how he keeps starting at the moment.
Yeah, it's a real conundrum, isn't he? Because I think, if I remember right, against Spurs, I know we're not talking about that game, but he picked the ball up and he span away and he got himself into a great position. And then it was a simple pass to the right wing and he just gives the ball away and we nearly concede from it. I don't know whether he's lacking on confidence, but I think we've always said, haven't we, if he doesn't score, he doesn't really seem to contribute. And that's a massive problem. And I think he's probably playing him because he is a player who is capable of putting the ball in the back of the net. I know his recent record doesn't really tell us that, but when you're kind of starved for goals the way that we are, you maybe revert back to what you think could be effective. And if there is a bit of a sniff around the 7 or 8 yards out from goal, he's probably going to take it. So I understand why he's playing him, but I think that's come to a point now where we have got better options. The cup has shown us now that we have got other players who we can utilise. So he's surely got to be the first one out of team sheet now.
You would imagine so, and it was surprising he kept his place for Spurs, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. One, before we talk about the moment of the game, the bit of magic, just another shout out for Sam Johnson. He's again has been criticised on this podcast. He's not really shown as an improvement on Sarr, but he's probably less agile than Sarr. But what he probably is, he's more consistent in terms of there's less rash moments. I think that's fair to say, and he deserved to. I didn't think he deserved to be dropped after Newcastle. I thought he made a couple of good saves. He did a couple of good saves against Everton. I thought he was good at Spurs. So, yeah, I'm pleased Sam Johnson's in the team. You don't get those caps for England by mistake or by fluke. And good luck to him for coming back in because he looks now the steady pair of hands from a shaky back three and people all over the place. He looks the most comfortable option at the moment. So I'm glad he's in the team. So let's talk a bit. We're 16 minutes into the episode 139 of the Wolves Report. Let's talk about the highlight of the game. João Gomez, a little battle in midfield, takes control, threads a beautiful ball in. You're expecting Tolo to absolutely thump one. He doesn't. He draws the keeper out and he just clips it over the keeper. And that's his cup of tea to the South Bank. 2-0 Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, it was an absolutely wonderful goal to see, especially from where I sit, because you could see how perfect the through ball was. And first I thought the keeper's going to come out and gobble it up, but he didn't. And Tolo probably a little bit quicker than I perhaps give him credit for. And the finish is just horrible if you're a goalkeeper and someone does that to you, because he just sits him down and dinks it past him. It's a fantastic goal. But I like him. I like Tolu. I think that one of my complaints with Strand Larsen is that he's not as physically dominant as he should be. Doesn't put himself around the way he should do for his size. Tolu just comes on and bullies people. He sticks himself into them. He attaches himself to a centre half. You can see him shoving them and just making life uncomfortable for him. I don't think he's match fit yet, but I think that there is clearly a footballer there. I mean, he's scored a lot of goals, hasn't he? Even if it's not a league that's quite as good as the Premier League, he scores goals. There's something about him. I mean, he's not just someone who's going to header balls as well. If you look at a lot of his finishes, they're kind of poachers' finishes, they're accurate finishes. So the guy's got something about him, and that goal was absolutely delicious. It was worth going in just to see that.
Yeah, well, credit to you for going last week. I couldn't. And again, you go to football, as you said in the group chat, for moments like that, and yeah, it was it was a classy finish. This is episode 139 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. It finished 2-0 to Everton. A couple of days later, Wolverhampton Wanderers headed to London to play Tottenham Hotspur. Now, we spoke last week, we did our predictions. I'm not sure anyone really believed that we'd be getting a win against Everton, and we're probably 30 seconds away from getting a win at Spurs. But it's a draw, and it's a draw that probably feels like a defeat. And that kind of tells you how well Wolves played. Now, was it spectacular and pretty? No. It was dogged and well organised. Spurs probably were the better team first half, but then Wolves grew. Excuse me, changes at half-time. Wolves were the better side. Johnson with a couple of good first half saves, but the second half, there's no doubt in my mind, Nocky, that Wolves were the better side. Yeah,
I think there's only Wolves that could not have won for 5 games and leave you absolutely devastated coming away with the points at Spurs. I thought we were good. I think we were good. I think we were very, very organised. We limited them to very little in the first half. They didn't really get in behind us. They couldn't stretch us. The midfield was dropping in really well to protect the back line, and then they were advancing to support the attack as well. Very organised, very, very good shape. Defensively, we just look very, very good. And Sam Johnson, one thing I really like about him, he hasn't got that clumsy approach when he's clearing the ball. He just deals with it, and he's not scared to punch either. He commands his penalty area really well, and I thought he was good. I mean, this is only a couple of games, so I'm not saying for a second that this is the start of it, but we showed massive improvement in that match. But the shape was excellent. I really enjoyed it, and I think Arias some of the touches, some of the way that he creates. You probably don't notice some of the stuff he does because he's not just picking the ball up, driving 6 lollipops and beating people. He's just calm on the ball. He doesn't give it away. He reads the pass. He sees the angles. He moves himself into space. He just looks like a very accomplished player. And again, I thought Manetzi did well. Hwang, for me, was probably the one player who didn't contribute in that first half. But then when we took him off, we looked more dangerous. Strand Larson as well, not fit at all. Not fit by a country mile. He couldn't get in the game. But I thought we were good. We managed the game well. Could have pinched the lead at half time. Doherty hit the crossbar, and then second half, I felt that we were the better team and we probably deserved to win it. But there's an argument, a points fair based on the chances we both had. But I just thought the way that we approached the game and how organised we were, we probably just about deserved to pinch it. It was a scruffy goal, but I couldn't care less. The ball's in the back of the net and it's from a set piece. My only sort of disappointment is, I think, as good as Santi Bueno was, and he was absolutely excellent in that game, for me, he turns his back on the shot. Now, I don't know whether he's anticipating that it's going to go near post, but I think, and he's a good striker, maybe it doesn't make any difference at all. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I think when he turns, he opens up the space and he gives plenty of room for Palhinha to then bend it round into that bottom corner. I want to see my centre-half in that situation, hands behind your back, making yourself as big as you can, advancing towards the ball. Maybe I'm being harsh, I don't know, but I just felt that he turned away from it and that gave Palhinha a little bit more to shoot at. But generally, the performance was really good, and Bueno in particular was absolutely excellent. So there's positives for us, there's things we can take, and it's a point on the board, but he just feels like a real kick in the teeth that it wasn't 3.
Yeah, it is a real kick in the teeth, because I think in the second half it was performance that warranted a win. I mean, Johnson didn't have to do much second half.
One brilliant save, wasn't it, from the point blank header that he tipped on the bar?
Brilliant point blank save, absolutely fantastic. Again, I think for me, it didn't seem to be much the back 3, or sorry, a back 4 or back 5 that was the difference in the 2 games. But the difference for me was going to a 3-man midfield, Nocky. Wolves going 3-man midfield against Everton and having a 3-man midfield to start with at Spurs. This is the difference for me in the last 2 games, not whether you've got 3 at the back or 4 at the back. It was the control of the game, the inability that teams couldn't play through us and just run through us, because it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't particularly fluent. There was some nice moves and some one-touch stuff coming out, but it was, what shone for me was the desire to get to the ball first, the aggression, the fight, the real snarl and the snap into the tackle, something that we hadn't really seen. I'm not saying they weren't trying, but I hadn't seen that level of measured aggression really all season. There was a real snarl about Wolves, and like Andre was in and Joe Gomez got subbed because he was really close to decking someone. I don't know if he was like the 5th captain that day or something, but he was decking people left, right and centre. Manetzi was putting about, Andre absolutely loves it. All 3 of those were ratting round. And Bellegarde, when he came on as well, and that turn when he bought the foul and he knew he was going to get clattered. I think all that midfield really played a part. And for me going forward, I think it has to be a 3-man midfield. It's not so much whether it's a back 4 or back 5. It's a 3-man midfield going forward for me.
Yeah, I think you've probably touched on it there, that they were more active and they were more into the game. And I think what maybe the big swing is that the players who have been so lacking in confidence, who have been kicked from pillar to post for the last 5 games, most of them have come out. So it was the team who just won in the cup and have realised that there's actually a shirt up for grabs here. So they were a little bit calmer. Bueno's not had much football. Craigie, obviously, he's come in and he's been brilliant, but he's not had a lot of football in terms of playing centre-half. Hugo Bueno's been in and out with Wolf nipping at him. Arias hasn't had much of a chance. So when you're bringing these players in, giving them an opportunity to take it and you give them another go, confidence is up a bit. And football's so built around confidence if you believe in yourselves. And I just think the shape is what's making the difference, because it's allowing us to defend as a unit. It's allowing us to push forward. We can be compact, but we can also be expansive. And you've just got a little bit more room to play. And we've been murdered in midfield every game this season. So when you go to a 3, suddenly we had that level of stability. Andre, for me, is absolutely massive. As I said earlier, I think he's the most important midfielder we've got at the moment because of the way that he plays. But we just look so much more solid and disciplined. And that was probably, I was more devastated by the equaliser because they didn't deserve to suffer that equaliser.
They didn't have Wolves pressed in a situation where they were getting peppered. And the second half, I think Spurs had one half chance. Granted, it's a brilliant finish, professional football from their side foot, great finish, nothing you can do about it. He's had the players to bend the ball around, that's that. But for that to come so late on, he's so cruel. But
that's what we limited them to, though, wasn't it? I mean, they were hitting shots from 25, 30 yards. Paulinho had one before that, and he put it into the stand because we defended so well. We protected the back line so well that we limited what they were able to do. So as far as the system goes, it was brave from Vitor to do it because you're coming away to Spurs. It's very easy to revert back to type, go through at the back and hope that you're okay. You're probably risking exposing yourself a bit more while playing the same team. So credit to him for having the guts to do that. But when he came in, the first thing he did against Leicester was make us hard to beat. And we started picking up points. If you can get back to making us hard to beat, and you can start really getting the best out of Arias, you get Strand Larsen fit, you get Tolu in the side, you're going to give yourself a little bit of a chance of picking up some points.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And just again, it's probably not always the prettiest midfield, but let's not pretend that Andre and Gomez can't play football, because some of those triangles playing out of defence were really, really nice. And you add that to, I mean, even on Saturday, Knocker, I thought every sub that came on made a difference. Now, obviously, Aguadou's got some confidence issues going on, but he didn't defend badly. He did all his defending he had to go. Granted, he was petrified of the ball. That's not ideal. But when he was defending, he won his headers. He didn't give the ball away in silly areas to the opponents, maybe for throw-ins. But he did okay when he came on. And Bellegarde, I think he did okay when he came on. Tolo was a pain in the arse when he came on. Everyone made a difference. Chachwa came on, clattering people, bursting forward. It was a real team uni effort. It was a unified performance where everyone's together. There was harmony. We're going to fight together. We're going to play together. And you could say that if Wolves were really poor and they pinched a point, you could say we were buzzing. But in reality, you're probably going to get more from knowing that you were the better team at Spurs and you were unlucky not to win. For me, anyway, granted, it's the heartbreak of it is what it is in terms of that. But for me, Wolves showed they could compete in this league. And that's the first time this season I've seen a game and thought, you know what, we may have a chance here.
Yeah, it's a foothold. You've got to get a foothold in the season. You can't keep losing games, and we've managed to do that. And I think you touched on Agbadou there. His issue is completely confidence. When he's got time on the ball, that's when it goes wrong. And you look at the mistakes it's this season, it's when he's had the ball and he's needed to pass it out from the back. When he's doing his bread and butter defending, he's okay. He's clearing stuff. He's clearing the ball. He's winning headers. He's been pretty dominant. It's when he's got time to think about it, because he came on and he was very solid. The first time he had the ball at his feet, he just walked straight out of play with it for absolutely no reason with no one around him. And then the second time he has the ball, he's looking for options. He panics and boots it straight out of play. So if you can build that confidence up, we know there's a quality centre half there. And that's, as I touched on earlier, Santi and Krejci aren't going to be our number two, aren't going to be our two centre halves the rest of this season. 6-7 games from now, that'll look completely different because we will build those confidence back up in the players. So you know the quality's there. You've just got to build them back up again and get them back to where they were.
Yeah, I really don't mind if it stays as a 4 or it goes as a 5. As I said, Nocky, at the start of the sort of reviewing the Tottenham game, I think the change has been the last 2 games has been all about the midfield, because Wolves, there's not lots of space left, right and centre. Wolves, as you said, when the manager first came in, he made Wolves hard to beat. He looks in the last 2 games now, look like we're a pain in the arse to play against, and I welcome it. I get the idea. I get his thinking earlier on. It's not worked. He's changed the whole thing and stuck with it after a cup game. That's some balls from the manager, by the way. That's proper rolling the dice. And we'd have all taken a point at Spurs. So credit to the manager and credit to the team, because they're really close to what would have been a fantastic 3 points. Talking about the goal, Knocker, we're not going to score a less aesthetically pleasing goal all season. It was a FIFA stinker, what you used to do to me about 20 years ago. But it went in, it didn't matter, and Wolves have scored from a set play.
But yeah, it's scrappy, it's ugly, but this is what happens when you put the ball into dangerous areas. How many times have we not beat the first man from a corner? Put the delivery in properly, you give yourself a chance. And to be fair to Santi, he's had a swing at it. And Vicario's done exactly what he did at Molineux when he thumped one against Jed Spence and it ended up in the back of the net. He pinged back to Santi. And to be fair, he's going the other way. He's reacted, stuck a foot out, bang, it's 1-0. So, yes, it's scrappy, but we got the delivery right, and that made all the difference. A good ball into the box, when you've got such a tall team like we have, we've got some absolute units in that side now. So if you can get that delivery right, get it in the mixer, get it into the edge of the 6-yard box or the penalty spot above the goalkeeper, make him make a decision, you can cause a bit of chaos, and that's what we did. So was it ugly? Yes, but it was all built up because of the ball that we put in the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Regarding the equaliser, I know you criticised Santi a little bit there. I kind of see the point of you're not supposed to turn your back. He's trying. He kind of open up the angle for him. Does he come at it head on? I just think when defenders defend, they quite often come towards the ball, don't they, and sort of turn and try and. I don't know, but the fact it's taken a brilliant finish to squeeze a point from Wolves, who had nothing before, and they've managed to scrape a point. And you can see from their reaction, they know how fortunate they were because Wolves were the better side in second half.
Yeah, and I'm probably nitpicking saying he's turned his back. My point is more that in the 94th minute, when you haven't won a game all season and you played as well as we have, I want my centre half big. I want him advancing towards the ball. And he turns his back, and he's just made himself small and given him a little bit more to pass past him. It might not have made any difference at all because Paulini's a very good technical player. He may have found that bottom corner anyway. I just think I want to see a little bit more from my centre half. But it's credit to the lads that we were limiting them to those kind of efforts, and they were just lucky that the ball dropped to them, really. It could have gone absolutely anywhere. Pings back in, it kind of ricochets off him and bang, it's 1-1. Really difficult to take based on the performance. But a couple of days on, I'm more taking the positives from it because I think it's the first time this season in the league that we can actually look at more positives than negatives. So it's a foothold, it's a building block towards the rest of the season. It's give us something to maybe hold on to.
Absolutely, and we'll certainly need to be strong and mobile against the team next week. Not many teams in the Premier League move the ball around better than Brighton, and that's going to be hard, especially as that seems to be our Molyneux bogey team. This is episode 139 of the Wolves Report. Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Let's review the team. Knocky, Sam Johnson, start with that one.
I don't think he did anything wrong at all. You certainly can't blame him for the goal because it's a missile past him. Dominant. Was happy to punch, was happy to come and claim.
Strong punching, very strong punching.
Yeah, good with the feet as well. If he needed to lob it, he lobbed it. If he needed to control it, he did. I've got nothing negative to say about him at all. I don't think he did anything wrong. Is he the long-term solution? We'll kind of have to wait and see. There's a reason he couldn't get in and stay in the team at one point, but at the moment, he's certainly the number one for me.
Absolutely. Moving on to the back four, Matt Doherty. I'm not sure. This was a harder game for Matt, wasn't it? Because he doesn't particularly have that much pace. He's, as Tyler said, he's solid. He doesn't really make any mistakes. But he got caught out. He had to take one for the team, and that's probably why he got subbed at half time. But I think he did okay. I think he's a right centre back in a 3 if he's going to play for Wolves. I'm not sure he's a fullback in a 4, especially against really serious pace. But you know what? From someone that didn't look like they had much of a future at Wolves, he's done really well for me the last 12 months at Wolves, and I think he deserves some respect. So, big tough game on Saturday, but I think he did okay. Hugo Bueno looks, wearing the captain's armband at the end of the game, that's not a statement I thought I'd be saying in pre-season. I thought Hugo did really well. Defensively, it was a big ask for him. I thought he did okay. He got forward well. I think he probably should have done a little bit better with a chance for 2-0.
Definitely.
I think Arias has fed him in perfectly, and I think that's a Lacey's ball, not a side foot. You can see he's hit it with his side foot. I think he
go across the keeper, don't you? Across the keeper.
I think he has to head over the ball and Lacey's. It's deflection in, or it could be 2-0. So that's nitpicking there, but I thought it was a pretty good game. Knocky, tell me about Santiago Bueno and Ladislav Krejci.
I think just on Hugo as well, that he had one of them against Coventry a couple of seasons ago and he spanked it in the bottom corner, so he's capable of doing that. But yeah, I agree, he had a good game. I thought Bueno, absolutely excellent. He's one of them players that it sounds daft, you don't know if he's any good or not because he doesn't seem to get much of a run in the team. He's kind of in and out and you're worried about him physically. You're worried about, is he quick enough? Is he good enough? I thought he was absolutely excellent. I thought that he controlled it really well. His positional sense was really good. He's not the fastest, but he seemed to read the game well. Scored a goal. My only negative, as I've said, is I think he turns his back a little bit on the shot. Maybe he could do better. But in terms of centre-half performances, I think that it was, along with Krejci, that was the best centre-half performance we've had all season. It is a low bar, but it's a good performance. Krejci's quality player. I think I like him at centre-half. But against some of the better sides that are going to really threaten us, I want him in midfield because I think he's a really calming influence. He's got a lot of control to what he does. He's very good at seeing a pass. He's very composed on the ball. He doesn't panic, which is what you need against some of the maybe more physical and quicker teams that you'd expect to be in the sort of top 6 or 7 in the division. But I thought that together they worked really well. They were excellent. They controlled what is a very free flowing Spurs team very well. More importantly, they protected Johnston very well. So excellent performance from both of them.
Just on that one, Nocky, I'd agree that I don't mind Krejci in midfield, but I don't want him as a 2. I think he needs to be part of a 3-man midfield.
Yeah, he's got to be a 3. Yeah,
I think you're badly leaving Andre or Joe Gomez by themselves, because I mean he's not slow, but he's not someone I'd expect in the midfield too. You're going to need a bit more mobility. So if he's in a 3, he's fine, but he's conceded 1 goal in 2 games playing at left centre back with Santiago. So regardless whether it's a 4 or 5 next week, those 2 need to be starting, and whether it's 1 more, either way, it has to be those 2. Moving on to the midfield pair, I'll start off with Andre. I've always been a big fan. Yes, he's not going to open teams up and score screamers, but he's an ultimate screener in front of the back 2, tidying up, mopping up, decking people when he needs to, smart, aggressive, a bit of housery when needed, comfortable little triangles, playing out that little knock round he did bringing out of defence was wonderful. Just showed that when he was under pressure, just a little knock round to send Wolves on the counter. For me, probably Wolves' best player, Knocker. Tell me about Joe Gomez.
I thought he was okay. I think his head went a little bit. He got booked and he seemed a little bit ratty.
By the way.
No, but he just seemed a little bit wound up, and we've been bitten before by a Gomez on a booking, haven't we? So I understand the decision to take him off, and I think it was probably the right one based on where he was mentally.
When he's booked, he doesn't change his game. And I understand that because he's a warrior in midfield, and if you take the edge off Joe Gomez, you've not got Joe Gomez anymore. So sometimes you've got to protect him for his own good. I know people will criticise that, but you could see he was pumped. And he's one dispute off being sent off. So I think the manager did the right thing, and he's protecting us and protecting him.
I wouldn't never take him off unless he's booked, because he's so important to us. But when he's booked and he's going to start smashing people, which is the way he will, and he gets ratty and works up, he plays with such high impact. In a game like that where you're winning, the last thing you want to do is go down to 10 men. So I know he was frustrated when he came off, but for me, that's absolutely the right decision.
Absolutely. Moving on to one very high performance and one very low performance. I'll start with John Arias. You can have Channy. Sorry about that, mate. Arias, for me, this is his best game in a Wolves shirt. I think we've misunderstood what Arias is, because the way he comes and collects and links the play, he's strong, he's physical. He doesn't seem to give the ball away. He's very good at ball retention and getting out of trouble, little triangles. I like him more when he's just free to go and do what he wants. I know he's based on the right-hand side, but he'll drift inside. He'll come and collect off Joe Gomez or Andre. I really like him. This was the player that I thought we signed, but I thought he was a bit more of an advanced sort of forward-thinking player. Yes, he's going to score goals and create, but it was a proper shift on Saturday night, Nocky. He was tackling people, he was tracking, he didn't give the ball away. He's always offering for the ball. If someone's stuck, he's happy to come and hold the ball up and offer a little 1-2. For me, this was a real show of what we paid the money for.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when you start playing players in the right position that you start seeing the best from them, because this is where he needs to be playing. I wasn't sure what kind of player he was when we signed him. You almost get the feeling that he's going to steam at people and beat man after man and slam one in the top corner. I think he's a very good technical player. He's very good on the ball, very comfortable, can pick a pass, doesn't give it away, as we've said. I think when he's fully settled, you can see him ripping a few from 25 yards into the top corner, because it feels like he's got that about him. How many times have we said you want to get these players in earlier so they've got a full pre-season so that they're ready to go, and you're not kind of adapting them to the new surroundings during the season, which is kind of what we're doing at the minute. But we're starting to see now that there's a very high quality player there. So yeah, I like him. I think he's going to be really good for us.
Yeah, Nocky, unfortunately, moving on to Hwang Hee-chan. Now, I've been frustrated he's been in the team. I'm actually at the point now where I feel sorry for him and I'm angry at the manager for playing him. Now, I don't understand, after that performance in the Cup, how on earth he starts at Spurs. And the fact he's hooked at half-time speaks volumes. And you talked about it earlier on when we were talking about the Everton game. He got into those positions and he kept on giving the ball away again and again. I almost think now, and I don't mean this in a horrible way, but he's almost a hindrance having him in the team now. He needs taking out and having a couple of weeks away, because he's just, whatever's happening, he's confidence is absolutely shot to pieces. And people say, well, the only way it's going to get better is if he's playing in the team. He should not be in the team in that position now. I just don't understand. You could play Fer Lopez there, you could play Bellegarde there. If you went up top with Tolu and playing two up top, Hwang should not be in it. Rodrigo Gomez as well. Hwang should not be in the starting 11 in the Premier League for me at the moment.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too critical, because he does try. You can see he's working hard, but he's just not what we need at this moment in time. He doesn't affect the game enough. He might chip in with the odd goal, but you almost feel like you're playing with 10 men, don't you? And he's, as I said, he does something really good when he turns inside and he's got a simple pass and he gives the ball away, puts you under pressure. He's probably got more assists against us than he has for us for some of the decisions he makes. So I'm disappointed we didn't ship him out a couple of seasons ago when we had a real big offer for him. I felt we were going to get rid of him last season and we didn't. And now it kind of feels like we don't know what to do with him. For me, I completely agree. I'd like to see Fer Lopez. I'm not sure Vitor trusts Lopez enough at the moment to play him and Arias together. But I think absolutely you could play Rodrigo Gomez in that position. You're going to get a lot more from him than you're going to get from Hwang.
Rodders will turn at the far post. Rodders will have shots. Rodders will try and take people on. Rodders will put a cross in. Now, he might not be as physically strong as Hwang, but at the moment, there's night and day between those two players. And not only that, and I say this a lot about Rodders, I don't think he's the most technically gifted footballer, but he's a tone setter. He's an example. He's a leader. He'll go and he'll press and he'll track. He's playing with a smile on his face. He wants to play. He loves playing football. He loves playing for Wolves. And we need that. And I would think at the moment he should be, if we're playing that formation, he doesn't trust Fer, for me, it has to be Rodrigo instead of Hwang on that side.
Yeah, I think long term that's Rodrigo's best position. I don't think he'll be a wing back for his career. I think left hand side of a 3 or in a maybe a just off 10. I think I can see him playing there long term, because he loves that run to overlap the attacker. He loves to get himself into space, and he will try and commit the defender as well. So for me, I don't see how Hwang starts next week against Brighton. I just don't see how you can possibly do that.
He's been hooked at half time, so I think there's a chance.
You feel like that's probably curtains now.
Yeah, I think there's a chance it's 5-3-2 with Arias just playing wherever he fancies around Strand Larsen. But last but not least, Strand Larsen.
You haven't done Menezes yet. Have we done Menezes?
Oh, no, I haven't yet. No, you do Strand Larsen, I'll do Menezes. Beg your pardon.
He's not fit at all. Nowhere near match fit. He's not impacting games. He's not showing anything at the moment. I don't think that's through any fault of his own. I don't think it's I wanted to go to Newcastle syndrome. I just think he's not fit at the moment. So we looked better in that area when Tolu came on. I mean, he wasn't appalling. There was a couple of times he held the ball up and played with the players in. But for me, he's way off it at the moment. He's clearly not fit. Hopefully, week on week, we'll see an improvement from him. But the way Tolo's coming on and looking like he's affecting games, I'm not sure it's going to be too much longer before Tolo's pushing for a start.
But it's great to have competition, though, Knocker.
Absolutely, yeah, you need it.
Two big units, because obviously we're playing that way. And when Strand Larsen's on form, we saw the 2 goals in the Cup. Fantastic. We saw the end of last season. Absolutely fantastic. Moving on to Marshall Menezes. Again, I know people joked about him having football intelligence. I think he plays to his strengths. He protects his defence. He gets forward with that incredible engine. He puts himself about. He's winning flick-ons. Yeah, it's not pretty, but he does a job, and he's doing well at that job. And him doing that job as in the midfield 3, the last 2 games, Wolves have conceded 1 goal and they've won 1 and drew 1. So if that's where he should be playing now, and Wolves look better with that 3-man midfield, and as it stands, he should be part of that. This is episode 139 of the Wolves Report with me, Ryan Lester and Mark Knock. Small section I want to bring up now just by myself about the Wolves 3rd kit. Now, this is a fantastic kit. It's a beautiful piece of art. I think it's one of my favourite kits I've ever seen. But there's a story behind there that I want to share that's frustrated me a little bit. I spoke to a senior member of the Wolves staff about a year ago about the idea of a Brazil kit. Now, I'm certainly not alone in suggesting that, so I'm not claiming the rights to that at all, because many people have suggested, because of the success of the Raul kit, the success of the Portuguese kit, it's an absolute no-brainer. So I spoke to someone at Wolves. I spoke to them again, and then shortly after that, I reached out to a designer with this idea of this concept, talked about it, talked about the potential colours of the kit and that kind of thing. That person designed something after our conversation. I sent it to Wolves, to the person that was involved with liaising with Sudo and making the kit. Thought nothing of it. So this person, as far as I'm aware, hadn't designed a Wolves Brazil kit before. So I talked about that idea. Obviously, they did a design that's very similar to this, the pattern on the shirt now, and this went to the club via my contact, and obviously it was on social media as well. Approximately 10, 11 months later, or whenever it was, 11 months later, the kit is announced. Said designer has been involved with designing the kit, and Wolves have gone ahead with it. Now, I'm delighted with the kit, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's just the fact that on the way, there's no acknowledgement whatsoever. There's no message, direct message, anything at all. And I think that's pretty disrespectful. So I've been stewing on this for a little while. I've spoke to the club. They pushed me in the direction of the person I liaised with at the time. I spoke to them today. We agreed on a lot of things, but we disagreed on the fact that I think the club should have had the decency to message me in the process. I reached out to the designer, and for the comment for the show was no comment from him. So I just wanted to share that from my point of view. There's no criticism on the kit. I don't own the idea at all. But along the way, I just think there needs to be a little bit of respect and class. And I think that has been lacking in this process. It's a fantastic kit, though, and I'm delighted it happened. But I'm not sure how it got there is the best. This is episode 139 of the Wolves Report with me, Ryan Lester, and Mark Knock. Knocky, shall we take some questions?
Go for it.
Let's take some questions. If I can get these working. Here we go. Starting off with Jonah. When was the last pre-season? Last time a pre-season had a positive influence on the squad? Get your time machine out, Knocky.
Pre-season is just a nightmare for us, isn't it? I mean, I miss the days when we used to go to like your Warsaws and Tamworth and play team plays like that, and play those kind of local games. We seem to bounce all over the place now, and it doesn't have a great deal of benefit because you're not prepping yourself for the league. I get it though; you make more money off those games. My argument with pre-season has always been that I want the players in before the players get to pre-season, and we don't do that. I understand we are a self-sufficient model, so we want the right players at the right price. But I think our August record shows you why that can be so terminal if you get it wrong, because we just don't win games in August. We struggle in September. It's usually November, December before we start picking up too many points. So that's based around having such a poor pre-season because your players aren't in. A lot of the time we'll hang on to players longer than we probably should because we want to get maximum money for them. So they're training with us in pre-season and we end up shipping them out. So we've got this one badly wrong. You think about the Nelson Semedo situation and the way we've perhaps handled some of the transfers in, which is really disappointing based on losing Ait-Nouri and Coons as early as we did. We were hoping that maybe the penny had dropped and we'd do something a little bit different, but unfortunately that's just not been the case. So pre-season's been a disaster for us.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we just did one transfer window. We got all the players in like we did on Championship Manager back in the early 2000s. But unfortunately, that's not Wolves and that's not reality. Bit of a stinker this week, Knocky. Drew says, harsh one, but who has been the least valuable player so far this season? Hwang Sar, Agbadul, Manetse. I mean, that's an absolutely horrible question, but we're not going to hide away from the question. So here we go. So Agbadul has got lost somewhere in pre-season and pretending not to be a footballer when last season he looked like one of the best centre-backs I'd ever seen. Manetzi has redeemed himself the last two games, but it's amazing what will happen if you play a player in his best position, playing to his strengths, physical flick-ons. Yeah, it's not the way we used to play him, but he's there and he's done well the last two games. So he is the consistent Mr. Inconsistent. A couple of games, world-class, you're thinking he's incredible. Next game, he's looking the wrong way and he's forgot to come out for the cross. Hwang scored though, Knocky, so
the answer's Agbadou. Because he's apart from Spurs, he's given a goal away in every game he's played. So Hwang's been poor, but he's been more anonymous than anything else. Agbadou's been physically throwing the ball in the back of our own net. So for me, it's got to be Agbadou. But if you were going to ask me which one I think he's going to improve and get back towards the best, that will also be Agbadou. Because I think if you can settle him down and bring him in, as you've rightly said, he's an absolutely sensational centre half. But in terms of least valuable this year, the one who's cost us the most, I would say he's got to be Agbadou.
Yeah, and that's a very fair point. I think he has given a lot of goals away, but it's so annoying, Nocky, because there is a good player there. We saw last year, and then I'll keep repeating it, and almost saying every year, no one deals with Ollie Watkins like that. One of the most physical, robust centre forwards that runs the channels. Agbadou ate him up that first half, and he was subbed at half time. But yeah, in terms of drop off and least valuable, you'd probably say it's Agbadou. But I do hope he comes back in the team, because if he finds that form next to the form that Krejci's found, Wolves will have some centre-back pairing or trio, because Santi hasn't done anything wrong this season. Drew, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Here we go about Hwang again. Got to ask these questions. Jay says, why does he keep picking Hwang seriously? And any insight to what has happened to Agba? He's all over the place. Confidence issue or something else? I think we've covered pretty much the Hwang stuff. I think it's quite damning, though, Jay, on what does it say about Fer Lopez? What does it say about Rodrigo Gomez? Even to an extent, what does it say about Bellegarde, even though I prefer Bellegarde as a centre midfielder? Obviously, Hwang's doing something very different in training to what he's doing on the games. But the manager's picked in the last two games. We've won one and drew one, so what do I know? Aggie, again, it's all about confidence. Jay, thank you for being part of the latest episode. Lost me words, Nocky. It's time to shut down. Graham says, is the back four back the way to go? I think so. Mark Knock.
Yeah, I think we need to now. We need to get another body in midfield. So if we sacrifice one of the three centre halves to do that, I think we absolutely should. You would think you're going to be more vulnerable with a four, but I'm not so sure you are, because you allow your two holding midfielders to protect your back four a little bit better when you're being attacked, because you've got someone else to play with. I think it is. Whether he sticks with it long term, I don't know. We're carrying a hell of a lot of centre backs, so I don't know if he will. But I think it's worth it now. I like the 4-2-3-1. I like the 4-3-3. But this is 2025. You've got to have more than one formation. So there's nothing to say we can't play the back four, but also in some games go and drop back to the three, because that's what we might need to do. Manager's got to be fluid, and the system's got to be fluid as well. So I'd like to see us sticking with the back four now and go with it and see if we can develop it. But also, if we go back to the three for certain games, then fine, we go back to the three.
Do you know what was nice about Saturday, other than the heartbreak knocker? What was nice is that we started off with the four. It looked all right, but we switched to a five and it looked even better. We've shown a flexibility to do that. Obviously, this Wolves team is based off a back five since the Nuno days, and that's pretty much ingrained to who we are now. But we've shown the last two games that we are capable of a four and we are capable of five. So that flexibility, I think, is fantastic, Graham. Particularly, I know trying to hold on to a lead late on or switching things up, it's not working. Wolves can go to a 4-5 now, and I'm delighted with that. But if you've listened to the podcast for a few years, you know I love a back four anyway, Graham. Knocky.
I think if we're going to go back to a three at any point, though, you need to go to a two up front, because I think you need that third man in midfield. I think we've shown that as good as Gomez and Andre are, I still think we need a third with them, because they're very similar in what they're doing. You need someone to maybe get you up the pitch a little bit. So I'm not against having a three at the back, but I want us going forward to have a three or some variation of a three in midfield, because that's how we're going to win. That's how you win games in the Premier League, isn't it? You win the midfield battle, you give yourself a chance, and we've not been able to do that with the two. I don't want to change the personnel in terms of getting rid of Gomez or Andre, because they're the two best options I think we've got in the two. So for me, you've got to either go to a four at the back, but still protecting midfield with a three, or go with a three at the back, but still keep three in midfield as well. Because otherwise, I just think we're going to continue to repeat the same issues.
Yeah, with those formations, I think a back four suits Andre more. I think he will benefit because he can play in that triangle, whereas playing in a three with a holding two, I think it suits Gomez more. So I don't know. I just hope that we can work something out, because it's been tough. But Graham, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Wayne asks one of Wayne's politer questions, I must say. Simple question: survive or relegation? Now, it's still more than likely, Nocky, that Wolves are going to get relegated. However, the way I feel in comparison to the show last week is night and day. Now, I am annoyingly positive, and you guys know that. You know, I mean, you're like, I don't understand why you always think we're going to win. I just can't help it. It's the way I'm programmed. But I do have we have some substance this week because they've shown they are capable of something. Now, Everton brought on all their big guns at the end of that game. Could barely lay a glove on us. Spurs, they're playing Champions League football. Yes, it was against Man United in the final, but they're playing Champions League football, and we were better than for half the game. So, Wayne, I've got hope. If it's very much a coin toss, and I'm going to say that Wolves are going to stay. Get that down your Wayne. Knocky?
No, we're going down. I just think we're going down. I think we're always very reliant on the 3 promoted teams. Where you've got Sunderland sat on 10 points. They probably need another 25, maybe keeps them up. You think they're going to limp pretty close to that. Leeds are picking up points. I think Burnley look like they're probably going to come down with us. I just don't see 3 worse teams than Wolves at this moment in time. I'd absolutely love to be wrong. I'd love to be eating humble pie. But at this moment in time, I just don't see 3 teams that we're going to finish above. You look at the teams around us, Nuno's going to get West Ham out of trouble. Villa are not going to be anywhere near it. Even Newcastle are relatively close, but they're going to be nowhere near it. I think Brentford could potentially get sucked back in, but they're picking up points as well. So it's just hard to see 3 worse teams than Wolves, unfortunately. But I hope I'm wrong.
See how you feel after we beat Brighton the weekend. Wayne, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Tastic says, if you had to join another Wolves pod, which one would it be and why? You absolute rotter, Tastic. The problem is, though, I switched that around. None of them are taking me, are they, Knocker? You know what I mean? I'm absolutely going.
No chance.
They're all absolutely bidding me what. Now, I have been on Talking Wolves with Dave Azzopardi, who is a top bloke. So, yeah, if they had me as a reserve sub, I'd go on there occasionally, I guess. I like Dave. I like JP from there. I mean, all the podcast lads, to be honest, I met a lot of them at the Content Creators Champions. I met them on most of those lads, and they're all good guys. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be Talking Wolves. Knocky, are you going on none of them? Are you Wolves Report loyal?
I don't like this podcast, to be fair, so no chance I'm going to any others. I've got to be honest, I don't listen to too many. I do like Talking Wolves. I think they're a good group. They know their stuff. I'm a big fan of Dazzling Dave as well. He talks. He's a very passionate fan, isn't he? He loves following them. But I like the fact that we've got this platform and that lots of other people have got this platform to talk as well. So I don't think it's about competing with anybody. I think it's about everybody having a voice and an opportunity for people to listen and have their voice as well. So yeah, I'm all for it, even though I don't listen to too many of them.
Yeah, top bloke Dazzler organised the Content Creators Cup as well. Yeah, go for it, Dave. Good lads. Tastic, thank you for your stinker. Cato says, I believe we will go on a bit of a run the next couple of months as players become more familiar with the league and teammates' thoughts. Well, you could say that, Cato, from the last 2 games. Wolves look not quite unrecognisable, but they look like a side with a plan and an identity, Knocker, and that's not something we've had so far. So is it a case of settling the team down and now we are starting to see a plan and a shape?
Yeah, I've just thought another one for the podcast question. I'll go on Dave Edwards' podcast question because I might be able to get a bit of an interview with Jeff Shea then, and I could have a good conversation with him. I don't know. Look, at the moment, we've put in 2 good performances, so you're thinking, is this the start of it? I just don't know. I think that the frailties are still there. There's a little bit of adrenaline. As I say, this isn't going to be our first team in 6 or 7 games. I'd love to think we can. I do think there's improvements in players. Strand Larsen's going to get better now. Arias, as I said, I think has arrived, and I think he'll improve. As for going on a bit of a run, we've got a stinker next week of a team that we just can't seem to beat. Then the fixtures are a little bit more favourable, although Sunderland away is a bit of a challenge. So you'd hope we can pick up some points. I think if we're going to be realistic about staying in the league, we've got 5 games coming up. I think we need 9 points out of those if we're going to be realistic about staying up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Cato. I'm annoyingly positive, and I have Tyler and Knocky on, obviously, just to give me a reality check on life and football. But there's no reason why not. We've seen the last 2 games the Wolves are capable of doing something, and hopefully they will. So yeah, up the positivity. Cheers, Cato. Carl says, do you think VP was right in what he did, dropping the players that are not performing well in the side? Well, actions speak louder than words, and results are the most important thing, Carl. So you've only got to look. He's dropped his whole back 3 and his goalkeeper, and in the space of 2 games, Wolves conceded 1 goal, and that was in injury time, and they were close to winning 2-2. So, Knocky, I think VP has rolled the dice. He's been brave, But Wolves were in a rut and he had to do something to change it.
I think, if anything, we should be critical that it's taken this long. I mean, we had a conversation after the Man City game that Agbadou's got to come out, and we didn't do that. We maybe looked at switching things around. He didn't do that. So, yes, he deserves credit for doing it. And I think keeping it going into the Spurs game was, it took a bit of bottle to do that. These decisions should have been made probably 3 games ago for me.
So, yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. 3 more questions, Nocky. You got time for that before bedtime? Is your cocoa machine on? Before
I jump onto Dazzling Dave's podcast, mate, we'll have a couple more.
I'll be negotiating the fee there, no problem at all. Greg asks, good evening, Greg 3G. Would you make Krejci the captain, having dropped his captain yesterday? Obviously, asked it on Sunday. Surely VP has a decision to make. Wolves had about 5 captains, I think, on Saturday night, Nocky. It was just every time I looked up, someone else was captain. I think you were probably next in line to be captain. I talked about this on one of the short videos I've done on sort of my different YouTube channel I've done just for short videos. I think long term, Krejci looks every bit the captain. He's, as I think Nocky said a couple of weeks ago when he first came in, he was dishing out bollockings. He's instructing people what to do. He's calming people. He's pointing. He's telling. I think that looks the natural captain. And I did think Tyler said though it might be. Did you say it might be a little bit soon because of disrupting the squad? So I can understand that argument as well. But for me, Greg, it needs to be in the conversation now. It's been Doherty the last 2 games. Does Doherty stay in the team? Obviously, he was subbed. Chachua coming in. Obviously, Chachua's not going to be captain. Then it probably goes to Joe Gomez. Is Joe Gomez a bit hot-headed? I do think I don't want to take the edge off Joe Gomez wanting to play his game, and I think Krejci should be in the conversation. Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's Gomez. I like the way he carries himself. I like the aggression. I know that he sometimes gets a little bit out of hand, but he seems like a decent guy as well. I know he's done a lot around kind of publicising the issues he had with speech, and he's opened up a school back home to try and help other people. I like him. I like him as a person. I think that he's a bit of a leader on the pitch as well. So for me, it's Gomez. But I think Krejci's an outstanding player, and I certainly wouldn't be against it if he got the armband.
Sorry, I've got to give some credit to Tyler here. He said Krejci captain. It was Nocky on the group chat. I've got my mic. What I'm getting abused from Tyler. He's not even here, so he's up for Krejci captain as well.
Don't show him on here if he can't be bothered to come on, mate. Don't show tweets and messages from him. Bin him off.
Sorry, mate. My phone's buzzing. You know what he's like. He needs the attention. So it's okay. We'll have him back soon. Greg and Tyler, thank you for being part of the Wolves report. Kev Taylor says, do we need to follow West Ham's fans' plight and start protesting about our owners? I'm always uncomfortable about coming on here and saying whether we should protest or not. I don't think it's my place to say. I don't want to be irresponsible with my views. Do I think fans should voice their opinions about if they're not happy? Absolutely, they should. But fans do what they want to do. I think Jeff and Fosun have got off very lightly. I think if this happens 20 years ago, don't tell me we're in the Championship then because we were, but if this happens 20 years ago with the fan base how it was then, I think there's a very different reaction. I do think they've got off very lightly. There's almost an acceptance that we've gone down to such a level now that would apathy be the right word, Nocky, we're talking about now? Yeah, I don't know. If fans are upset, by all means, you're entitled to do whatever you want. And I do think Jeff and Fosun have got off very lightly compared to, well, for what's happened to the football club, the state of the ground and what's been going on recently. Nocky?
Yeah, I mean, we had a similar question last week around this, didn't we? Look, it's you pay your money, you take your choice on how you do it. For me, I don't want to see the players affected. I don't think protesting in the game is the right thing to do when the players are clearly still working and trying to get it right. The manager's absolutely had his legs cut off this season in terms of the transfer window, so it doesn't feel the right thing to do in that perspective. If you want to protest, by all means do so, but maybe after or before the game. And you can protest in other ways as well. Sometimes people come in 10 minutes late. If you want to do that, do that. But I just don't want anything that affects the team.
We'll miss all the away goals then if we do that.
Yeah, but they're going through the mill a little bit at the moment, and the effort's there. It's not like they're down tools. So before the game, do it. After the game, do it. Don't buy the merchandise. Don't buy the food. Don't buy the drinks, which will be a challenge for a lot of our fans. But just don't affect the team would be my kind of thought around protesting. But at the end of the day, everyone's paying their money. They've got the right to support the team or protest around the owners wherever they see fit.
I know it's not easy to do, Nocky, but I do think it's possible to be angry with the owners and support the team, but they certainly shouldn't overlap. When that game starts, unless the game is conclusive, the support should be for Vital's side and those players, because regardless of how poor it's been, particularly those last two games, Wolves have been putting a show on and a performance, and there's fight and there's desire and there's a belief, and that needs supporting, because these two games have actually given us something back. So they need our support. I think that's first and foremost. And I agree with Nocky. If there are to be any noises of disgruntlement, I think that needs to be before or after a game. But again, that's not for me to say.
I think as well, though, I mean, the fans have also got a little bit of responsibility in terms of backing the side. I mean, Molineux is an absolute morgue at the minute. We don't seem to have any songs now. It's quiet. South Bank has a little bit of a go, but the rest of the stands are very quiet. You look at teams who are good at home, they're the teams that are loud and they're noisy. Look at Sunderland, their fans are carrying them over. Palace is always loud at home. Leeds is loud at home. It'd be nice if we could get that atmosphere back that we used to have under Nuno. You think about the day when we beat Man City 3-2 after being 2 goals down, the noise in that stadium, when we beat Man United. And I get it's different. It's a different time now, and we're a different club, and we're going into games expecting to lose. But it would be nice to get that spiteful Molineux back and bring the noise back a little bit, because at the moment it's there's nothing in the ground at all.
I missed that spiteful Molineux, and that year of promotion under Nuno and that first league, that year in the Premier League was unreal, unreal moments. We're getting to the end of episode 139 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. My dog is pouring me. He wants his snack before bed. So does Nocky. So we'll get on our way soon. Nocky, we play Brighton and Hove Albion on Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Sky. Much appreciated. Back 4, back 5, changes to the team. Mark Knock.
It's a horrible fixture, isn't it? Especially off the back of a positive result, because we just can't.
Nice little reality check again. Bring us back to earth.
We just can't get a positive result against them, can we? I would stick with a 4, because I don't see what anyone's done to get dropped. I think he may make a decision around Doherty. There could be a change there. Hwang has got to come out, and I'm not sure who he brings in for him, whether we go Bellegarde or whether we go Rodders on that side, but surely he's got to come out of the team now. And then I think you probably stick pretty much with the rest then. I don't really think you need to change it. If he goes to a 3 at the back for this game and we get pumped, it's all going to fall on him. All of it is. Whereas if he sticks to a 4, he probably gets a little bit more leeway, because it's the system that I think most of us want, and we've picked up a couple of positive results with it. So I'd like to see the 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped back into a 3 at the back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. But again, I repeat myself over the show. I do think the key for me is not the back 4 or the back 5. I think it's the midfield 3. I think that's the bit that's given us the difference and the edge in the last 2 games, having more control and more strength and more mobility. And I think that's really, really helped. So as long as it's based around that, I'm comfortable with either. But I do think Hwang should come out. Be interesting to see what he does with Doc. If it's wing backs, I'm not sure Doc will be a wing back. If it's a 5, Chatchwell probably comes in. If it's a 4, it might be Doc, but I don't see. And I'm not sure, regardless, either way, Hwang should be starting that game. Again, prediction time, Nocky. Kev, thank you for your question, by the way. Prediction time, Nocky. We are at the end of episode 139 of the Wolves Report. Nocky, I mean, I'm pretty sure over the 2 games I said that Wolves were not going to lose, and somehow I've absolutely fluked it from pure faith of no football and no football knowledge whatsoever.
You've also said we'll win every game this season, son, and you've been wrong on 5.
Yeah, well, here we go. My show. Yeah.
I don't want to say it because I've felt a lot more positive, but the way they play, the way they attack, the power they've got in midfield, the speed they've got on the wings, I just think they're all wrong for us. Unfortunately, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Brighton win. Probably Mitoma if he's playing.
Come on, mate. There was 3 people enjoying the show until that point. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Wolves win and Arias. Why not? I hope you've enjoyed the show. Drop us a follow, a share, a like, YouTube, X, Facebook, and uploading to video as well as audio now on Spotify. This has been episode 139 of the Wolves Report of the Wolves.